Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. Here we are. The next chapter, The Science of Getting Rich, Chapter 3. But first, before I start, I just wanted to say to you, my sweet, my love, my angel, I love you. And I just want to acknowledge you and tell you how proud I am of you. You're so amazing. And you're so incredibly bright and talented and smart. And I love the way you are with your friends. You're just so beautiful and just have so many awesome qualities about you. And I just wanted to let you know how much Mommy just loves you so much. To the moon and back, my sweet. And I'm so grateful that we can have this time together. So back to Chapter 3 is the opportunity monopolized. Chapter 3. No man is kept poor because of opportunity has been taken away from him. Because other people have monopolized the wealth and have put a fence around it. You may be shut off from engaging in business in certain lines, but there are other channels that open you. Probably it would be hard for you to get control of any of the great railroad systems. That field is pretty well monopolized. But the electric railroad business still is its infancy and offers plenty of scope for enterprise. And it will be but a very few years until traffic and transportation through the air will become a great industry. That's interesting. And its branches will give you employment to hundreds of thousands and perhaps millions of people. Why not turn your attention to the development of aerial transportation instead of competing with J.J. Hill and others for a chance in the steam railway world? So see, thinking outside the box, doing something different that not everybody else does. It is quite true that if you are a workman in the employ of the Steel Trust, you have very little chance of becoming the owner of the plant in which you work for. But it is also true that if you will commence to enact in the certain way, you can soon leave the employ of the Steel Trust. You can buy a farm of from 10 to 40 acres and engage in business as the producer of foodstuff. That's an interesting thought. There is great opportunity at this time for men who will live upon small tax of land and the culture, and some intensively. Such men will certainly get rich. Well, I just learned today that my grandma's mom and dad, they had their own farm, and that's how they did it, and supported 10 kids. Can you imagine? Such men will certainly get rich. You may say that it is impossible for you to get the land, but I am going to prove it to you that it is not impossible, and that you can certainly get a farm if you will go and work it in a certain way. So see, there's a certain way to becoming rich. At all different periods, the tide of opportunity sets in different directions according to the needs of whole and the particular stage of social evolution which has been reached. At present, in America, it is setting towards agriculture and allied industries and professions. Today, opportunity is open before the factory worker in his line. It is open before the businessman who supplies the farmer more than before the one who supplies the factory worker. And before the professional man who awaits upon the farmer more than for the one who serves in the working class. There is abundance of opportunity for the man who will go with the tide instead of trying to swim against it. Well, I have heard with that is very important, is that to go with the flow of things, just like the tide, back and forth. And if you're the other way, resisting the current, things aren't going to work out. So the factory workers, either as individuals or as a class, are not deprived of opportunity. The workers are not being kept down by their masters. They are not being ground by the trust and combinations of capital. As a class, they are because they do not do things in a certain way. If the workers are American chose to do so, they could follow the example of their brothers in Belgium and the other countries and establish great department stores and cooperative industries. They could elect men of their own class out of office and pass laws favoring the development of such cooperative industries. And in the few years they could take peaceful possessions of the industry field. The working class may become the master class whenever they will become to do things in a certain way, and the law of wealth is the same for them as it is for all of us. This they must learn, and they will remain where they are as long as they continue to do so. The individual workers, however, is not held down by the ignorance of the mental slothness of his class. He can follow the tide of opportunity to riches, and this book will tell him how. No one is kept in poverty. By a shortness in the supply of riches, there is more than enough for all, everyone. Nobody is poor. Nobody has to be poor. A palace as large as the Capitol at Washington might be built for every family on earth from the building material in the United States alone. And under intensive cultivation, this country would produce wool, cotton, linen, silk, enough to clothe each person in the world finer than Solomon was arrayed in all his glory together, with food enough to feed them all luxuriously. The visible supply is practical, inexhaustible, and invisible supply really is inexhaustible. Everything you see on earth is made from original substance, out of which all things produce. So it's all energy, and somebody has created it. Even this beautiful tree. So nice, isn't it? There is no limit to the supply of formless stuff or original substance. The universe is made out of it, but it was not all used in making the universe. The spaces in, through, and between the forms of visible universe are permeated and filled with the original substance, with the formless stuff, with raw material of all things. 10,000 times as much as been made might still be made, and even then we should not more exhaust the supply of the universal raw material. No man therefore is poor because nature is poor, because nature is definitely in abundance. There's an abundance of trees and dirt and all kinds of amazing stuff. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of riches. The supply will never run short. Original substance is alive and creative nature, energy, and is constantly producing more forms. When the supplies of building materials is exhausted, more will be produced. When the soil is exhausted for the foods, that foodstuffs and materials for clothing will no longer grow upon it. It will be renewed, or more soil will be made. When all the gold and silver has been dug from the earth, if man is still in such a stage of social development that he needs gold and silver, more will be produced from the formless. The formless stuff responds to the needs of man. It will not let him be without any good thing. So we got to get our thinking good up here. So I am abundance, and abundance will come to me. True. This is true of man collectively. The race as a whole is always abundantly rich. And if individuals are poor, it is because they do not follow the certain way of doing things which makes the individual man or woman rich. The formula stuff is intelligent. It is stuff that thinks. It's alive, and it's always impelled towards more life. It is the natural and inherent impulse of life to seek, to live more. It is the nature of intelligence to enlarge itself, and the consciousness to speak, to extend its boundaries and find fuller expression. The universe of forms has been made by formless living substance, throwing itself into form in order to express itself more fully. The universe is a great living presence, always moving inherently toward life more and fulling functioning. Nature is formed from the advancements of life. Its impelling motive is the increase of life. For this cause, everything which can possibly minister to life is bountiful provided. There can be no lack unless God is to contradict himself and nullify his own works. You are not kept poor by lack in the supply of riches. It is, in fact, that I shall demonstrate a little farther on that even the resources of formless supplies are at the command of any man or woman who will act or think in a certain way. So let's start doing this. Like, when is he going to tell us what we need to do? Like, what do we need to act like? Or what do we need to be doing in a certain way to get to our riches? So we'll just have to find out in chapter 4, right? Maybe he'll just give us a little nugget until we get to the next chapter. Maybe we won't find out until the end. So you'll just have to stay tuned and listen. So until then, I am so excited that you were here with me to spend this beautiful day in nature. Isn't this fabulous? It's so fabulous. I thought I'd do something different than just in the house. And it's freezing cold out here. But that's okay. I did it for my love. I love you so much. You are so amazing. So glad you're a part of my life. I think I'm so lucky to have such a beautiful daughter. Bye.